Yo, what's good? Welcome into the show. Coming up on today's Philadelphia Eagles now, we have a major DeVonta Smith contract update. It's been very silent this offseason as far as that issue goes with this football team, not any longer. Tim McManus, Eagles insider for ESPN, with a very interesting report on the DeVonta Smith contract front. And also, have the Eagles' draft plans been revealed, and are they honing in on two players who they absolutely adore? Stay tuned for that at the back end of the show. Let's start off here with DeVonta Smith. Big report from Tim McManus, as I said, and he reports that the ball is rolling on a DeVonta Smith contract extension. And there's really not any pressure to get this done right away, right now, for a couple of reasons that we'll unpack here throughout the show. But McManus saying that the Eagles are making efforts behind the scenes to lock up DeVonta Smith to a long-term contract extension. The Eagles have given out lucrative extensions already this offseason to Landon Dickerson, making him the highest paid guard in the history of football per year at $21 million per year. And they locked up Jordan Mailata on a contract extension, which makes him the fourth highest paid offensive tackle in the National Football League. And since being selected 10th overall out of Alabama after he won the Heisman Trophy, DeVonta Smith has done nothing but produce for this football team, and he has been a very, very good player. A lot of different elements of this report that we want to hit here on today's Eagles Now. Let's start off with this one from McManus. He says the front office has been busy this offseason locking core players into long-term deals. Offensive linemen have been the primary beneficiaries to this point. Guard Landon Dickerson signed a record-breaking 4-year, $84 million extension in March, and tackle Jordan Mailata followed by inking a 3-year, $66 million deal earlier this month. The focus now shifts to one of their most important skill position players. The Eagles are making efforts behind the scenes to get something done with 25-year-old DeVonta Smith. Contract talks are ongoing. Sources familiar with the negotiations said, and there's general optimism that a deal will materialize in the near future. And you think about the Eagles' draft history, especially under Howie Roseman. Philadelphia has missed on so many wide receivers, especially over the last few years before DeVonta Smith. From Jalen Reagor to J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, it has been a weak point for Philadelphia, and over the last several years, they're top 5 in the most amount of wide receivers drafted, but the hit rate extremely low. They finally hit on DeVonta Smith, who's everything that this city is about, who's everything that this fan base is about. Being a good player, being available, toughness, swagger, confidence, but it's that silent confidence that I really like. He's kind of just a silent assassin. Off the field, carries himself in a very normal way. I saw him on Super Bowl Radio Row earlier this year in Las Vegas. By the way, he's a lot taller than what people give him credit for, but he just carried himself like a routine dude. On the field, though, he's a menace. He's nasty. He's uber competitive, and that was seen at Alabama when he put up terrific numbers. And those numbers have translated to the NFL level. And Philadelphia knows how valuable DeVonta Smith is. That's why I've said it all along. I think they strike a long-term deal with DeVonta Smith. I think it's only a matter of time. And when I was at the NFL Combine earlier in March, Howie Roseman said what we're about to show you, and it kind of gave you a peek into the window that the Eagles want him around for the long haul.
Well, DeVonta is an incredible person, an incredible player, obviously homegrown, young guy. Without getting into specifics, those aren't guys that you really want to leave.
So you heard it there from the Eagles general manager, right? At the end of that, he's a special player. And we don't just want to let special players go, especially a player who's younger. Philadelphia this offseason, after having the third oldest defense in the NFL, they've slashed that. And they've gotten a lot younger on the defensive side of the football. And then offensively, they're locking up their young players here. Landon Dickerson, Jordan Mailata. They paid Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley, still young. The core players on the offensive side of the football and defensive side of the football are younger. So the arrow is pointing up, I believe, for this football team for the foreseeable future. DeVonta Smith next in line. And when I talk about that deadline here, let's get back to that talking point because this is obviously important for a lot of people watching to know. The Eagles aren't really working against any deadline. The Eagles have a couple of options at their disposal here. Base salary in 2024 for DeVonta Smith is $1 million. They have until May 2nd to exercise his fifth-year option. So in turn, if they exercise that, he's under team control for the next 2 years, 2024 and in 2025. A lot of teams across the NFL will wait until next offseason to pay a first-round pick of this caliber after they exercise that fifth-year option. If he does play under that fifth-year option, DeVonta Smith would be owed about $16 million for 2025. But compared to other teams who do wait, the Eagles have a history of paying players early. Why do they do that? They do that knowing that the price tags for these premium players and assets usually goes up if you do wait. So that's why they try to get in at below market value or at an affordable price tag for their liking. Obviously, with DeVonta Smith, the question becomes, he's still going to make a lot of money. But how much will DeVonta Smith get? Tim McManus is saying somewhere in the neighborhood of potentially $25 million, which is a lot for DeVonta Smith. Highest paid wide receivers per year right now, Tyreek Hill leading the charge at $30 million per, Devonte Adams, $28 million per, Cooper Kupp at $26.7, fellow Eagle A.J. Brown at $25 flat. So will DeVonta Smith tie him? Obviously, that was a couple of years ago, and the market was a little bit lower. DK Metcalf at 24, in addition to Stephon Diggs. Deebo Samuel right after that at 23.85. Michael Pittman Jr., now number 8 after his lofty contract extension with the Colts at 23.3. Calvin Ridley at 23 even, and then Terry McLaurin at 22.79. I personally think $25 million is a little bit too much for DeVonta Smith, but look, all he's done, produced for Philadelphia. And since being that Heisman Trophy winner at Alabama, crazy numbers in the national championship game, that play is translated to South Philadelphia and beyond. 2021 rookie year, 64 catches, 916 yards, 5 touchdowns. Sophomore campaign, 95 catches, 1,100 plus yards, 7 touchdowns. And this past year, the catches go down compared to 2022 by 14, but he still has more than 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. I think it's really important for Philadelphia to keep this wide receiver duo together. 158 targets for A.J. Brown last year, 106 catches, nearly 1,500 yards, 7 touchdowns, average yards per catch at 13.7. And when you put that alongside DeVonta Smith, that gives you one of the best wide receiver duos in the National Football League. The market could be dictated for DeVonta Smith by what Justin Jefferson and CeeDee Lamb get. So Spotrac projecting that CeeDee Lamb gets $30 million per year, and Justin Jefferson gets about $32 million per year. So if CeeDee Lamb gets 30, does that in turn increase the price tag for DeVonta Smith? What say you? Would you pay DeVonta Smith $25 million per season? Share your thoughts with us down below in the comment section. Have the Eagles draft plans been revealed? We're going to get to that next. Stay tuned. But first, make sure you sign up with Prize Picks, the largest independently run daily fantasy sports app in North America and the best daily fantasy sports app in North America. They make daily fantasy sports easy. You pick 2 or more players. You choose more or less on the projected stat lines, and you can win up to 25 times your money. You get a $100 deposit match by going to prizepicks.com/CLNS. Obviously, football season is in the rear view, but a great few days is coming up in Augusta, Georgia. Should I talk softly to you like I'm a golf announcer? Because we have some golf prize picks here. Phil Mickelson, 2.5 birdies or better on the opening day of the Masters. Let's go less. And then Victor Hovland, 3.5 birdies or better. Let's go more on the opening day of the Masters. You can win big money and withdraw your winnings all within the Prize Picks app. Pick more, pick less with Prize Picks. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. All right. Segment number 2 of the show. Have the Eagles' draft plans been revealed? What is this man thinking right here? We already know he's thinking about a DeVonta Smith contract extension, as we covered here on the show. What will Howie Roseman do in the 2024 NFL Draft? And have the Eagles' draft plans been revealed? Let's talk about it here. So you look at the Eagles' top 30 visits by position. Does this give you a peek into what the Eagles might be preferring in the first round of the draft? They have so far visited with 7 offensive linemen, 4 cornerbacks, 3 edge rushers, 2 wide receivers, 2 linebackers, and 1 interior defensive lineman. Each team across the NFL is given 30 visits with some of these NFL draft prospects. So this list and the amount of players who are going to be visiting the NovaCare Complex in South Philadelphia is due to change. It's very fluid, but as of right now, pretty interesting that Philadelphia has 7 visits set with some offensive linemen here. And the Eagles' history with some of these top 30 visits is important. It is an indication that they have a high level of interest in those players who visit the team facility. Last year, Philadelphia took 7 players. 4 of their first 5 picks were among the 30 allotted pre-draft visits that they had prior to the draft. And right now, there's a lot of buzz. There are a lot of rumblings that Philadelphia really likes 2 players. Offensive lineman Troy Fuatanu out of Washington. He can play tackle, shorter arms, so maybe at the NFL level, he plays guard. And they're said to really like Cooper DeJean, the cornerback safety returner hybrid out of Iowa, who was just fully cleared coming off that fractured fibula, which he suffered in practice in November. A big-time player in the secondary. More on him in a moment. Let's start off here with Fuatanu. So, according to a report, the Eagles have met twice with him in the pre-draft process. You're not going to meet with the prospect 2 times unless you really, really are about what that player brings to the football field. Let's go over some strengths and weaknesses for Troy Fuatanu. Played in the national championship for Washington, had an opportunity actually to interview him at the college football playoff national title in Houston. Then I watched him specifically up close because I knew at the time he could be an Eagles draft target. His strengths: he has really good bend, really good balance, light, quick feet. Always important for an offensive lineman. And when you play tackle, but you might play guard at the next level, you're playing tackle, you have to be fleet of foot. He has a very powerful punch, and he's a graceful mover. When he moves to that second and third level on some of those pull blocks, when you have to block some linebackers, cornerbacks, and safeties, you have to be able to have that quick first step, mastered by the likes of Jason Kelce, to get to that level to block for your running backs and your tight ends and your wide receivers downfield. He's able to do that. What I love about him, he is a vicious competitor, and he has this nasty streak. Well, he will pancake you and drive you into the ground. He's also been durable. Started every game over the last 2 years for Washington, and inside the locker room, he's looked at as one of the team captains, a leader, and that positional versatility important for Philadelphia because I believe he's a plug-and-play guy from day one and a plug-and-play guy who could play multiple positions along the offensive line. His weaknesses: penalties. Sometimes he's undisciplined, and sometimes because of those shorter arms, he can get caught holding. 3 holds, 2 false starts in 2023. He is going to turn 24 for his rookie season. I don't make as much of a deal of that as other people do because can you be an impact player for the next 5 to 7 years? That takes you to 29 to 31 years old. Still a great age, especially for an offensive lineman. The shorter arms, might have to play him at guard to really maximize him as an athlete at the next level. When he does play tackle, he can struggle with some inside moves, which is why he might pop to the interior. Fuatanu is one of the top 10, 15 players in this draft class. And when you pair up his potential and his ability with the best offensive line coach in the NFL and Jeff Stoutland, he can develop the heck out of offensive linemen, Ken Stoutland. He can develop Fuatanu into a perennial Pro Bowl player. As for Cooper DeJean, when I was at the NFL Combine, I did report this as my boots were on the ground in Indianapolis, that at that time, the only top 30 visit that Iowa defensive back Cooper DeJean had set right then was with the Philadelphia Eagles. Niners, Seahawks, Saints, Packers have all shown some interest. Now, that fractured fibula, a little bit of a concern, but he's been cleared medically coming off of that injury. So he just had his pro day earlier this week on Monday, and I don't know if it was a solar eclipse day or this dude is just built different. I think it's the latter. His testing numbers were off the charts. A 9.89 on the relative athletic score testing from 0 to 10. So, translation, excellent athlete. Stands at 6 foot, 203 pounds. He bench pressed 225 16 times. Oftentimes, you don't see cornerbacks bench that many reps because you don't really have to, playing on the outside, because oftentimes those players are a little bit slighter. Not a problem with Cooper DeJean. Great vertical leap, almost at 40 inches there. Ran a 4.43 40-yard dash at more than 200 pounds. In 2023, 10 games played, season cut short because of that broken leg, 41 tackles, 2 TFLs, 5 pass breakups, and 2 interceptions. And his overall numbers, like the TFLs, the pass breakups, the interceptions, I think that you can play him at the next level at all 3 levels of your defense. He certainly held up in coverage in 2023 where he did not give up a touchdown in coverage when he was targeted, only surrendered a quarterback rating of 37.8. He was targeted 46 times, only gave up 20 catches for 194 yards. His career numbers in 3 seasons, seldom used in 2021, started to gain some traction in 2022, and then put together another really good season in 2023. 705 defensive snaps. So even with that injury, he still played a lot this past campaign. Only gave up those 20 catches, no touchdowns, and a couple of interceptions. His strengths, he is a freak athlete and has a variety of techniques at the cornerback spot. Backpedals well, too. He anticipates well. And he's credited that with playing quarterback in high school. So he could predict and foresee plays happening and make a beat on the football. That comes, according to him, from him playing quarterback on the other side of the football. He returned 3 of his 7 career interceptions for touchdowns. So when he gets his hands on the football, he makes things happen, ladies and gentlemen. Has the versatility of a Trent McDuffie, who we saw beautifully utilized in the Super Bowl against San Francisco for Kansas City, and he also has special teams value as a returner. And now that the return rules are different, do you value weapons who can make plays happen with the ball in their hands? Could Cooper DeJean be your kick returner? Something to keep an eye out for. His weaknesses, coming off that broken leg, he does sometimes give up that initial separation. There are some questions. Is he a corner? Is he a safety? He can sometimes get handsy in coverage, which does lead to some pass interference calls. So Philadelphia really liking 2 of these players, according to some of the latest draft buzz. Troy Fuatanu, offensive lineman out of Washington. Cooper DeJean in the secondary for Iowa. If you had to pick one with an Eagles first-round pick, let's call it at 22 overall, who would you go with? Let me know down in the comment section right now.